Welcome to DSPsports. I'm Don Stevens, and we're with David Beard. How you doing, David?
Great, Don. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Well, week 1 of the NFL playoffs is now in the history books. And for the love of God, did they write one hell of a chapter.
Yeah, and I'd like to make an apology. Last week I sat here and I said that the worst team in the history of the playoffs, and not even their own coach would pick them, and they're a laughing stock, and they might lose by, like, what I'd say, 100?
Yeah.
1? So obviously I don't know anything I'm talking about. So that is just shocking.
And I was the one talking about maybe just putting $10 on them just in case. And you know what? I didn't. So I'm just in just as bad of a place as you.
Well, I told you if you did that, you'd just be giving your money away. But so.
Man, I could have quit school. All right. Well, let's start off with one that we got right. Baltimore versus Kansas. Baltimore wins. We both get a point for Baltimore versus Kansas.
Yeah, it wasn't even really a game. I mean, Kansas City, like I told you last week, they had an easy schedule. And for the first quarter, it was close, and then Baltimore just blew them out.
Yeah. So but we still get a point for that. We both get a point for that. And of course, the next game we're talking about in the NFC is the New York Jets versus the Indianapolis Colts.
This one was a bit of an upset for me. Nothing near like Seattle, but I was surprised that the Jets won. There was a couple of weird calls there at the end of the game on special teams that helped the Jets out. But, Peyton Manning, their offense has just had too many injuries this year. And with Clark being out for the year, they just were not the same team they were normally. So I was actually shocked to see the Jets actually went into Indianapolis and beat them.
I thought that they were on their upswing and that they were just going to hit them like a freight train and go through. But apparently their coach of the Jets, Rex Ryan, if I'm correct, took it personally. He took it personally. It's very personal.
A foot fetish guy.
Yeah. Really? Does Rex Ryan have a foot fetish?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. It was released when I was in California. There was somebody found a tape of him videotaping his wife's feet, and Howard Stern had a field day. I've been listening to him the last couple of weeks. He's been playing some of the videos in the morning. It's been hilarious.
Really? I had no idea Rex Ryan and I had something in common. All right, so that was a fun game to watch. I enjoyed watching it. Very close down to the end. Now let's go to what you got right was Green Bay versus Philly.
Yeah, and I think Green Bay is going to be tough to beat, and I feel bad for Atlanta because of the way the seeding system is. Now, Atlanta, who's the best team in the NFC, has to play, in my opinion, the second best team in the NFC, which is Green Bay, and not Seattle, which is, they still have a losing record right now, and they've already won a game in the playoffs. So,
well, let's look at that.
Kind of a system there.
Let's look at the end of that game. Green Bay versus Philly. History has changed if you go back in time and look at Michael Vick and say, just down it. Just down it. Just and take another play. You've got seconds on the clock, which is an eternity in football, because you can stop that clock. Just down it and take another play, and you have a better chance, and you don't throw an interception, and you win the game, and Green Bay is the one sitting out.
Hey, you sound like their receiver Jackson. He said the same exact thing after the game.
That's right, and the words of Michael Vick were, "I have to learn from this."
Yeah, and he said, I got greedy.
Yeah. So if his past, his legal past is any indication, then about his ability to learn and to rebuild and to do better things, you'll have a better Michael Vick next season.
Well, here's the thing, though, Don. Vick is got to be near 30 now. And with his trouble and stuff, he's going to be a free agent. And so Philadelphia is going to have to make a choice, whether they go with Cobb, who's young, and or Vick, who's older, has some trouble. And, I mean, he's got beat up pretty good this year. So, I mean, I'd like to see him come back to Philadelphia. I think he deserves that. But I would not be surprised if they decide to go in a different direction because of his age and how beat up he was this year.
Well, I think he's got more years left in him. I mean, the way he even though he was like hobbling there in the game before last and then the last one, he was still making plays, and he did get greedy, and they lost. Now, the game of the century: New Orleans versus the Seattle Seahawks. Wow.
Did you see that on their thing on the news, that last run that the Seattle running back did for a touchdown that pretty much won the game?
Yeah.
That the stadium shook so loud that they were actually able to get a measurement on the Richter scale?
I did read that. I read that last night. And I also saw someone...
That's a tough place to play. That's why I wasn't shocked the Rams lost to them.
Yeah. My wife and I were sitting here in DSP headquarters, and we were watching the HD TV, and I thought it was a done deal. I thought that the New Orleans was going to win. Who does that? Who runs right through the middle and breaks, 8 tackles?
The guy was possessed, and I think hearing the fans crazy behind him gave him even more motivation. I got to tell you, I actually found myself in the game going for Seattle.
You know what? Me too. And I'm sitting back, and I've got my other show, the Don Stevens Show, and I had recorded something, and I decided not to air it because I was constrained for time, so I basically bumped it. And my wife says, you need to put that scene up now, before the game ends. Your deleted...
Well, I saw that. I think I did do that.
Yeah, she says, put it up now, because if you put it up afterwards, people are going to think you recorded it while the game was on. So I put it up, and I'm glad I did. I mean, this is amazing. I explained on Facebook how the Seattle Seahawks could finish the season at 500, or with a winning record.
One game over.
They just have to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, well, Don, since that's all I have to do, should we pick this week's game?
We should absolutely. We'll start with the AFC, Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. You go first.
Well, I had Baltimore beating Indy this round, so I had to redo my bracket a little bit. And since I picked Baltimore to go all the way to the Super Bowl, I'm going to stay with Baltimore in that game.
All right.
They looked really good against Kansas City last week, so I'm good with them.
All right. Now you've got the Steelers versus the Ravens, and on this one here, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, and I think they're going to win. That's who I had picked to win this game, anyways. I believe. No, they were going to play someone else, but still, I think they're going to go through it. Yeah. Now we have the Jets versus the Patriots. We know what my pick is.
Yeah, well, I'm bummed out about this game because I really thought this was going to be where New England went home with Baltimore, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to pick the Patriots because I saw them destroy the Jets about a month ago or 2 months ago, and I just don't see the Jets beating them.
Okay, well, there we go. We've both picked the Patriots for that one. And now we have the NFC, Seattle versus Chicago. You want to go first?
You want me to go first on that one, or you?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I am actually going to take Chicago strictly because they're at home. Seattle did beat Chicago this year, but I believe they were in Seattle, but I'm not for sure. So, but I am going to take Chicago just strictly because they're at home.
I have seen so many people online call Chicago a bad team this year, despite the fact that they've got a decent record and made the playoffs. And I don't understand why. And maybe it's because I don't understand football as much as I should. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Chicago on that one too. But
I think Seattle is probably happy that we continue to pick against them.
You're probably right. But I will not be nearly as shocked if they win this game as I was with the last one.
Yeah.
All right, now we have Green Bay versus Hoflanta. I call it Hoflanta because they're covered under snow right now.
Well, here's the thing. If I didn't pick Atlanta in the beginning to win the Super Bowl with you last week, I might actually change my pick here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take Atlanta. But I would not be surprised at all if Green Bay beats them and beats them pretty good. But I am going to stay with Atlanta.
All right, Dave with Atlanta, and I'm going with Green Bay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like Green Bay. I like watching them play. The only reason why I picked Philly is because I enjoy watching Philly play more. But, so here we go. So now what we have is we have our picks, and everyone knows them. Dave has Baltimore. I picked Pittsburgh. David has the Pats. I picked the Pats. David has Chicago. I picked Chicago. And Dave has Atlanta, and I picked Green Bay. Now, do you stick with Atlanta?
I have, in this case, I have Chicago at Atlanta. I have Atlanta winning that game handily and going to the Super Bowl. In that scenario, you would have Green Bay at Chicago.
Yeah, if Atlanta beats Green Bay, I'm with you. But right now, I'm thinking that Green Bay is going to beat Chicago.
Okay, so you'd have Green Bay in the Super Bowl against New England, I'm assuming.
Yep, Green Bay versus.
And I would have, I'd have Baltimore beating New England, like I had them earlier, just a round later, and then Atlanta beating Baltimore in the Super Bowl. Who do you have winning the Super Bowl? Still New England over Green Bay?
I have New England over Green Bay, absolutely.
Hey, you know what? When I was in Vegas, they played a Sunday night game where Green Bay had a backup quarterback, and it was a really good game. So that would be a good Super Bowl.
Indeed. All right, so we've got it now. So right now we've just got I have New England versus Green Bay for the Super Bowl, and what do you have? You have Baltimore.
Baltimore against Atlanta, same as last week.
Against Atlanta. All right. So wow, other things are going on in the sports world besides football. For example, Philadelphia is in first place in the NHL. So is Boston, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Vancouver. The team that we picked is the worst team in NHL history. The Islanders are in fourth place. New Jersey right now seems to be the worst team in the NHL.
Hey, can you see on there how the Islanders have done their last 10 games? It should say
6, 3, and 1.
Good job, Don. I think we've done our job.
I think we have. And New Jersey is just sucking it up at 2, 8, and 0 in the last 10 games. So let's see how they do.
I think New Jersey may be the worst team in NHL history.
I think New Jersey may be the worst team in NHL history too. Now, to the NBA. Boston's in first place. Chicago's in first place. Oklahoma City's in first place. The LA Lakers are in first place. And San Antonio is still the team with the best record.
Yeah, Boston's went on quite a bit of a losing streak here lately. I was shocked to see that in San Antonio as well. But the Lakers last night beat Cleveland by 50 points. It was just a disaster for the Cavaliers, so that organization is definitely hurting.
Well, that's right. But the difference between Cleveland and Miami is the fact that Cleveland failed to break NBA rules to get their dream team together.
They should have tried harder.
Miami, I didn't notice I left them out when I said the first place teams. That's because I want to highlight the fact that since we've criticized them, they are on a 9-game winning streak.
I think they've lost one game, Don.
Did they? No. Since we criticized them, well, maybe they did. You're right, because we criticized them and they had 8 losses, and then they won that one game.
Yeah. Or
they lost that one game, but they've won ever since. They haven't really lost since they lost that time.
They got one more loss the rest of the year, and they're tied for the best team ever. So if they're going to pull this off, they got a long road ahead.
But they still fail. They said they'd be the best team ever.
Everybody on the news did.
Yeah. That's right.
So,
I don't know. But now people know the state of the NHL, the NBA, and the NFL. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people out there who are on the edge of their seats waiting for the wisdom of David Beard?
I think we got Super Bowl, followed by opening week of NASCAR Daytona 500 coming, I'm pumped about, followed by shortly thereafter, spring training, Major League Baseball.
Well, this is DSP Sports.